Dawn breaks. Chained to a crumbling statue in a ruined abbey courtyard, a vampire knight roars in defiance. His blackened armor, jagged plate and snarling skull motifs glints dully in the first light of day. Once, this hulking warrior inspired terror on the battlefield. Now he is powerless as sunlight creeps over the horizon. This is Anark von Carstein's final dawn, a brutal execution wrought not by blade, but by the coming of day, his immortality unraveling in the sun's glow. To understand how such a fearsome creature met this fate, one must journey back through the darkness of his story. Anark von Carstein's tale begins in the shadowy courts of Sylvania, ancestral haunt of the vampire counts. A particularly brutal and dangerous blood knight, Anark was not born to the von Carstein name. He earned it. In life, little is recorded of him before undeath, but his second birth came at the fangs of Lady Elise von Carstein. It was Elise, one of the eldest, most cunning vampiresses of that infamous dynasty, who chose Anark as her new blood son, lover, and champion after another potential protege spurned the honor. The hulking warrior gladly accepted the von Carstein name, embracing the dark gift of vampirism and the prestige it conferred. From the moment of his rebirth, Anark's trajectory was set. He would carve out a place among the deadliest nobles of the night. Under Elise's tutelage and patronage, Anark quickly rose in the ranks of Sylvanian aristocracy. Unlike many scheming courtiers, he was a creature of action, a knight more at home in heavy armor, astride a dread steed than in velvet finery. Rumors whispered through the halls of Drakenhof Castle spoke of his ferocity and unwavering ambition. Indeed, Anark was said to be the most ambitious vampire of Mannfred's get still surviving, a testament to his drive in a lineage full of treacherous aspirants. Even Mannfred von Carstein, the current Count of Sylvania and himself a master of intrigue, took note of Anark's potential. Here was a brutal upstart with a predatory instinct that could be an asset or a threat. In the decades that followed his vampiric rebirth, Anark served the von Carstein cause on many fronts. Honing his prowess in blood and battle, Anark's ascent to true power came through the knightly order of the Drakenhof Templars, an elite brotherhood of vampire knights sworn to the von Carstein dynasty. In this martial sphere, his strength and savagery set him apart. The Drakenhof Templars were renowned as the greatest blood knights outside the infamous Blood Keep itself, a formidable cadre of immortal cavalry, each a seasoned killer. Rising through their ranks was no simple feat. The order's history was stained with the ashes of those who failed or overreached. One predecessor, the second Grand Master of the Templars, met a grisly end when he attempted to usurp Mannfred's authority, a stark warning that ultimate power in Sylvania came at a lethal price. Anark learned well from such object lessons. Through calculated loyalty and battlefield prowess, he navigated the deadly politics of the undead nobility. It was only a matter of time before Anark claimed leadership of the Templars. He became the third Grand Master of the Drakenhof Templars, entrusted with command of the von Carstein's most fearsome knights. In this role, Anark was not only a warrior but a general, the tip of the spear for Mannfred's armies. He led undead legions with cold efficiency, crushing rebellious mortals and rival undead alike. Each victory burnished his legend. Here was a vampire who combined the martial pride of a blood knight with the cunning of a court intriguer. Sylvania's foes learned to dread the thunder of hooves announcing Anark's arrival, for it meant an implacable, bloodthirsty force was upon them. Battlefield glory alone did not define Anark von Carstein. It was his ambition that truly set him apart. Built for war and utterly fearless, Anark cut an intimidating figure. Those who beheld him recount a giant of a man encased in night-black armor, composed of serrated plates and swooping, sharp curves, his crimson gaze burning with predatory intent. His armor was dented and scarred from countless battles, each mark a tale of survival and slaughter. Unlike more urbane vampires, Anark wore his brutality openly. He was known to be particularly large and imposing, even by Blood Knight standards, a living engine of destruction. Yet beneath the raw power lay a calculating hunger. Anark desired greatness, not merely to serve the von Carstein legacy, but to stand at its apex. Ambition was the dark core of Anark's being. He had eagerly taken the von Carstein name to vault over his station, and he never ceased striving for higher honors. As Grand Master of the Templars, he enjoyed influence and respect, but whispers in the crypts suggested he hungered for more. Mannfred von Carstein's inner circle noted Anark's keen appetite for advancement, though none could accuse him of open treachery. He was too shrewd for that. Instead, Anark played the long game. He demonstrated ferocious loyalty in battle and deference in court, all while keenly observing the balance of power. If the throne of Sylvania ever weakened, many believed Anark would reach for it without hesitation. In his cold, dead heart, the Blood Knight harbored visions of a crown. For now, however, he bent the knee and sharpened his sword, waiting for destiny to crack open a door. When the end times erupted across the old world, an age of apocalypse and reckoning, Anark von Carstein's fate became entwined with events far greater than any one vampire. At the dawn of this cataclysmic era, Anark was far from Sylvania, indulging his love of war in the distant lands of the border princes. There, he led an army of the dead on behalf of some petty human warlord, selling his sword to the highest bidder and spreading death for profit or amusement. It was a testament to Anark's restlessness and martial pride. Even when not fighting for his own lords, he sought out battle to satiate the eternal Blood Knight thirst. Clad in foreign dust and glory, he was waging war in those arid border realms when the summons came. News of dire events in Sylvania reached Anark swiftly. Nagash, the great necromancer, was prophesied to return, and Mannfred von Carstein had struck an unholy pact with Arkhan the Black, Nagash's foremost lieutenant, to make it happen. Obedient to his father in darkness Mannfred's command, Anark rode hard for home. Upon his return to Sylvania, Mannfred placed Anark at Arkhan's side as a grim sort of escort. Ostensibly, Anark was to serve as bodyguard and enforcer for the Lich, but his true purpose was more sinister: ensure Arkhan survived until Nagash's resurrection artifacts were secured, and then eliminate him if necessary. Mannfred, ever the schemer, did not fully trust Arkhan once his usefulness ended, and Anark understood these orders well. He was to safeguard Arkhan during the crucial Bretonnian campaign, only so that the Lich could be discarded at the proper time. Ever ambitious and ever loyal to his master's grand design, Anark accepted this mission without question. In it, he surely saw the promise of even greater favor, and perhaps a chance to remove a powerful rival. Thus the stage was set. Anark von Carstein marched to war at Arkhan's side, a dark guardian with betrayal sheathed at his hip. Arkhan's task was daunting and vital: to recover Alakanash, the great staff of Nagash, from the holy vaults of La Maisontal Abbey in Bretonnia. This artifact was key to resurrecting the Dark Lord. So it was that Anark found himself far from Sylvania's haunted woods, venturing into the misty land of Bretonnia at the head of an undead host. The campaign was a tapestry of nightmare and alliance. Arkhan had bolstered his forces with the aid of the infamous necromancer Heinrich Kemmler and the White King Krell, and with Anark's own regiment of Drakenhof Templars reinforcing the horde. As they cut a swath through Bretonnia's war-torn provinces, Anark remained ever at Arkhan's flank. To the mortal knights who rode out to face this invasion, the sight of Anark must have been horrifying. A towering vampire knight, in jagged black plate, fighting alongside legions of skeletal soldiers and necromancers. Many a brave Bretonnian met his doom on Anark's blade in those days. Yet for all his bloodlust, the Grandmaster never lost sight of his mission. He kept Arkhan the Black from harm, fending off would-be assassins and championing the undead lines whenever the enemy threatened to reach the Lich. In war councils by night, Anark was a silent sentinel behind Arkhan's shoulder, watchful, dutiful, but also weighing the moment when duty would end and deadly opportunity would arise. The climactic test of Anark's loyalty and ambition came at La Maisontal Abbey, during what would be remembered as the 12th Battle of La Maisontal. Midnight cloaked the abbey grounds as Arkhan's undead legions clashed with the chivalry of Bretonnia. Battle raged through the dark hours and into a pale dawn. Anark von Carstein was in his element, astride a nightmare steed or on foot amidst the graveyard soil. He hewed through knights, men-at-arms, and peasant levies with contemptuous ease. The Bretonnians, driven by desperation and valor, threw themselves at the invaders in wave after wave. At their head rode Duke Theodoric of Brionne, a veteran of many wars, determined to slay Arkhan and foil the necromantic ritual he suspected. As the first light of day began to streak the sky, Duke Theodoric seized a moment of opportunity. He spurred his warhorse and charged headlong at Arkhan the Black. The Lich, consumed with weaving spells to maintain control over the undead horde, noticed the Duke only an instant too late. With a mighty swing of his blessed axe, Theodoric's blade bit into Arkhan's armor, cracking ancient enchantments and hurling the Lich to the ground. The Bretonnian hero reared for the killing blow, intent on cleaving Nagash's servant in twain. But Arkhan's death was not to be. Anark von Carstein intervened at the crucial second. From the flank, Anark crashed into the Duke with inhuman speed. In one brutal motion, the vampire swung his greatsword and took Duke Theodoric's head clean from his shoulders. The Duke's decapitated body toppled from the saddle, hope extinguished in an eye blink. The Bretonnian lines faltered, a collective gasp of despair rippling through their ranks as their boldest champion fell. In that moment, Anark had saved Arkhan's unlife and secured victory. Yet the triumph came at a cost. Theodoric's holy axe had carved a grievous wound into Anark before the Duke was slain. Blessed steel seared undead flesh. Black blood oozed from the gash in the vampire's flank. Anark grimaced, but did not falter, ripping the still glowing axe from his own body and casting it aside with a snarl. Wounded or not, the Blood Knight stood defiant, his deed ensuring the Bretonnians' courage shattered, along with their charge. The battle was won. Bretonnian survivors fled, or were cut down as the abbey itself erupted in arcane conflagration. Treacherous Heinrich Kemmler had betrayed Arkhan within the vaults, but Arkhan emerged victorious, clutching Nagash's staff of power as La Maisontal Abbey lay in ruins around him. Amidst the smoke and cinders, Anark surveyed the carnage at Arkhan's side. His red eyes undoubtedly lingered on the fallen Duke's corpse at his feet, and perhaps for a heartbeat he savored the glory of this hard-fought win. But Anark's mind was already turning to the next phase of his mission. The objective was complete. Alakanash had been secured. Now the great necromancer could be resurrected, and Arkhan the Black was no longer indispensable. With the artifact in hand and dawn breaking, the hour of betrayal arrived. On Mannfred's orders, Anark von Carstein moved against Arkhan. In the blood-tinged light of morning, amid scattered bones and burning timbers, the vampire made his play. Anark was a fearsome warrior even injured, and he had the element of surprise. One imagines the confrontation. Arkhan, weary from battle and drained by Kemmler's treachery, turns to find the towering knight stalking toward him, sword raised. Perhaps Arkhan's ancient eyes widened in recognition of the inevitable double cross. Perhaps Anark allowed himself a cold smile, finally seeing the moment of his ascension at hand. He swung his blade with all the strength left in his ruined body, a strike meant to shear the Lich King's head from his shoulders. It was Arkhan who proved the swifter. The centuries-old Lich, steeped in Nagash's dark sorcery, was not so easily taken. With a rasped incantation, Arkhan unleashed a bolt of unholy magic that shattered Anark's sword mid-swing. Fragments of midnight black steel rained down. Anark's attack faltered, surprise and fury contorting his features. In that instant, Arkhan thrust out his ornate staff. The staff of Nagash, freshly reclaimed, punched forward like a spear. In a sickening crunch, Arkhan impaled Anark's head upon the tip of the staff. The vampire's crimson helm cracked. Dead flesh and bone yielded to the ancient weapon. Anark's roar died in his throat, his body shuddering to a halt. By all rights, such a blow should have slain even an immortal. Yet Anark von Carstein's formidable vitality refused to surrender immediately. Twitching on the end of Arkhan's staff, the vampire still lived, or some undeathly equivalent, his eyes rolling with hate. Arkhan, no doubt sneering at the audacity of Mannfred's pet, decided to make Anark's end a morbid spectacle. In the courtyard of La Maisontal, Arkhan's minions seized the still undying Anark. They dragged the impaled Blood Knight and chained him upright to a stone statue amid the abbey's garden. Anark's shattered sword and the Duke's fallen axe lay at his feet, mute witnesses to the final betrayal. Arkhan had more pressing matters than personally finishing his would-be assassin. The great necromancer's resurrection awaited, and dawn was upon them. With cold contempt, Arkhan left Anark to his fate. The trap was set. The sun itself would execute Mannfred's treacherous pawn. Thus came Anark von Carstein's final moments. As the sun's rays inched over the horizon, they banished the last shadows of night in the ruined abbey. Golden light fell upon Anark's face, and smoke curled from his charred skin. The ancient curse of vampirism had always been his greatest strength, and now became his undoing. No armor or strength of arms could save him from the touch of dawn. Left chained to a statue and unable to flee, Anark let out a final, furious howl that echoed through the smoldering gardens. In that cry was all the bitterness of betrayal and the agony of a warrior denied an honorable death. The sunlight intensified, creeping across his body. Anark's pale flesh blackened and cracked, each beam of light searing like a white-hot brand. The mighty Blood Knight, who had defied the swords of mortal heroes and the spells of undead lords, was reduced to cinders by the coming of day. In a matter of minutes, Anark von Carstein burned away to nothing but ash and a charred suit of armor. His ambitions turned to dust at the very moment victory seemed within reach.